Hi, this is Eric here, and in this tutorial we're going to be going through the overview of the Cashbook. Now, the Cashbook is the financial heart of this program, and there's one golden rule for the Cashbook, and that is that every line in the Cashbook must match up with a line in your bank statement exactly. The notes can be a little bit different, but the amount and the date must be exactly the same. Now, and that's for all the reconciled transactions. So R over there means reconciled. So basically at the end of each day, this bank balance needs to be exactly the same. So you need to have to have a one-for-one correlation between the two. And the Cashbook, it's mostly used for calculating your GST and your year-end accounts when you give it to your accountant. Now, one thing as well with the Cashbook is that it uses open-ended accounting, so there's no closing balances or opening balances or close-off periods or anything like that. You just keep going. And then when you print a report, you use the background data for the date range that you specify. And so you never close off any periods. There's two ways of getting data into the Cashbook. One is to manually type it in, and new transactions are always added at the bottom. And if you want to add it somewhere in the middle, you still add it at the bottom, and then click Recalc to resort it into date order. And the other way, and this is the recommended way, is to import your bank statements. And we'll be covering that in the next tutorial. But if you've got, say, like a savings account and you do like 10 transactions a year, then if you just manually type in those 10 transactions, then that's fine. Okay, so let's first go to the bank account setup. So we've got our main account, a savings account, and a credit card. Now you can also have petty cash and possibly a cash register, but that'll be covered in help. Then next we're going to have a look at the category setup. Now the categories are for this drop down over here, so it's for specifying what's displayed there. And category setup. Okay, so there's three basic groups of categories, and the first is the income categories, which is everything that adds to your profit. The expense categories, which is everything that subtracts from your profit. And your balance sheet categories, which is everything that neither adds or subtracts to your profit. So, for example, if I transfer money from one bank account to another, that doesn't affect my profit. Or if I pay myself drawings, I'm taking some of the profit out of the business, but it doesn't actually affect my profit. Or if I'm paying tax to the ATO, that's money that belonged to them all along, and I'm just paying it to them. It's an outgoing, but it doesn't actually affect my profit. And if I need to change a category from one column to another, I can change that on that button there. And you always add at the bottom, so if I add a category down there, next time I come into the screen it'll resort it into alphabetical order, and I can delete it, so click there and hit delete. Or to delete something, I can go right click and delete, and it's gone. So that's basically your category setup. Now, if this is for Simpler BAS, if you have non-Simpler BAS, I'll just show you very quickly. So turn Simpler BAS to no. and go back into that screen. The screen looks quite different now because there's a lot more information, so you can click on these tabs at the top and you have a BAS code for each, and there as well BAS codes. And in the Cashbook you'll see there that you've got your BAS codes. So this is for the line that we're on, and it's a lot more complicated, so I strongly recommend that you use Simpler BAS if you can. Okay, so next up, let's have a look at how to search and organize the data. If you right click, you can see that there's a little menu that comes up, and you can click Sort A to Z. So that sorts that particular column, all the spaces are at the top, into alphabetical order. And to put it back to how it was, you exit and go back in again. You can also do find. So for example, if I'm here and I go find, search for Joe, and any part of the fields, next, it found Joe again, and next, found the next one, so you can just find something that way. So that's how to look for stuff in the Cashbook. Okay, now the next thing is down the bottom here, we've got line details, and this always applies to the line that we're in, and it's for the less commonly used items. And the first thing I'm going to show you is over here I've got someone paid off invoice, and down here I can click inv, and it lists all the outstanding invoices, and the ones that match exactly to the amount over there are displayed at the top. So in this case it's Catworks, so select that, and now it's marked this invoice off as paid, and it's allocated it to Catworks. It's put in the invoice date, and just as a matter of interest, if I double click here, it shows the invoice, shows that it's paid. Okay, next up, let's have a look at splits. Now, a split is when you have one transaction, but it has to be split between two different things. So, for example, if I double click and go into it, so here I had Norgrove's print shop. They paid two invoices, 386 and 396, paid two invoices with one payment. And so here we've got the two invoices marked off as paid, and they add up to the correct total. You can also have a split if, for example, if you need to separate petrol between personal use and business use, then you can have the two lines. You could also have it, for example, if you're paying off a loan and you want to separate it between principal and interest. And you can also have it if you want to have a credit card and you make one payment to pay off a whole lot of credit card payments or things that you bought during the month. Okay, next up I'll show you how to merge two transactions to make it into a split. If you need to do that, sometimes you might need to do that. So I might, for example, click there, merge with, and then I click the second transaction. Are you sure? Yes. And now it's gone into a split, and those two lines are now one line. Okay, next up, journal entries. Now, for a journal, the income and expense must cancel each other out. So the movement in the bank account must be zero. And it's used for things like, in this case, we made a cash purchase. So from the business's point of view, it was an expense, and so it was cancelled out with drawings for $20. And for more examples, click on Help, and there's a cash job, there's a cash purchase, which we've just done, and here's one for receiving a loan for, in this case, a truck, where we pay, where we paid, in effect, from the business's point of view, 54,500 for the truck, and we received a loan from ABC Finance for the same amount. So that's just some examples for journal entries. Next up, let's have a look at credit cards. Now, there's two ways of doing credit cards. The first is like over here, we've got an Amex card, and what we do is all the Amex card transactions that were for the business, I put them all in here, and then we pay off the Amex card. If you're going to use it for business and personal, you pay all the business transactions out of your business bank account and all the private transactions out of your private bank account, and then you can use that Amex card for both. So in this case, we have one split, which is all the Amex payments for 1 month. Then the second way of doing a credit card is to set it up as a separate bank account. And in this case, this is better if you import your bank statements from your credit card company's website and type them all in just like normal. And then once a month you do a transfer from your business's main bank account to your credit card account, which is basically when you pay it off. Now with credit cards, it's important that if you're going to use it for business and personal use, that you don't let it, that you always pay it off in full every month, because if you let it get behind and you have to start paying interest, then how much of the interest is for personal and how much is it for the business? So it all starts becoming a bit of a mess. So for credit card, just if it's going to be for business and personal, always pay it off in full. And that's basically it for the Cashbook. So the next tutorial is going to be on how to import bank statements from the internet, and hope you enjoyed this one, and see you in the next tutorial. See ya, bye.